guys, today I'm doing a book review on the final book in the Darkest Minds trilogy by Alexandra Bracken, In The Afterlight. Alright, like I said, this is the third book in a trilogy, and if you have not read The Darkest Minds, I will put a link somewhere on the screen or in the description box where you can go and watch my review for the first book if you want to know what it's about. And if you haven't read this book, and if you haven't read the previous two, you need to leave because you're going to be spoiled big time, and you don't want to be, trust me, you really don't. There are so many great twists and just crazy stuff that happens in these books that you don't want to know about, so please just leave right now if you haven't read all three yet. Okay. I was so sad when I realized this is the last time I'm gonna sit down and read New Darkest Minds. Like, I don't want it to be over, and now it is, and it's so sad. But I really didn't have to be worrying about anything because basically nobody died. Seriously, like one person out of these main characters, so none of like my favorite characters died or anything. So I'm just gonna get started on the parts that I liked, and I also want to warn you that this video is going to be crazy, all over the place. I just wrote down in my notes, like seriously, I wrote them down after I read the book, and I just wrote them down whatever came into my head, so they're in a very random order. It's just gonna be going from like the back to the front to the middle, so just be prepared. The first thing I have to say, just because it was the first thing that I thought of after I finished the book, well, not like the first thing that I thought of when I was writing notes, is what happened to Martin? Because he was sort of, we thought he was going to be a bigger part in these books, and then he just sort of wasn't, and he disappeared. And did he die? Did I just miss that sentence or something and he died? Please tell me if you know. Ugh, I thought that Clancy was finally dead. I stopped reading for the night after he got shot. I was celebrating, I was like, Clancy's dead, yes! And I was so excited and happy, and he wasn't dead. He wasn't dead. His mom shot him, was like, I love you, and then she shot him, and I was like, oh, yes. I sound like a psychopath, but if you've read these books, you know Clancy, and you know that he is just so evil. I really did love the way that they ended things off with him, though. I mean, if Ruby hadn't done what she'd done, then he really would be living his nightmare, which is having no powers and having to be the son of the president and like in the spotlight and all this stuff. And what Ruby did really was merciful, and it wasn't what he would have done to her. She just sort of erased all his memories, and now he has a clean slate to start off his life with. Well, start off, he's like 20. I love that sentence where it's like she removes all these memories and then he looks out the window at the birds and he smiles, and that's the last we hear of him. And it's like, he really doesn't deserve any mercy at all, but she was kind and she gave it to him, and that's why I love Ruby. Like, she's so awesome. I just love her character. She may be my favorite female fictional character. Her character arc throughout all three books is so fantastic. Just seeing the way in the first one how she was like, couldn't stand up for her friend even though her friend was standing up for her. She's grown so much as a character. It's just, she's so awesome. I'm just wondering with Clancy, like, has he really changed at heart? Was it his abilities that gave him that obsession with power, or is he still gonna have that obsession and just use it in some other way? I don't know. I mean, I feel like you can't change who he is, you can just change his memories, but I don't know if it was just his abilities that made him like that, so I guess we'll never know. I hate that feeling. Oh, the ending when they got into like the Black Betty type car. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Black Betty. They just drove off and listening to the song, and it was just, oh, it ended so amazingly. I've seriously never read a happier trilogy ending. I feel like Alexandra Bracken was just sort of like making it up to us for the other two endings, because those were just, again, I love that barely anyone died. Seriously, it was just Cole and the president disappeared, and we thought Clancy was dead, but he wasn't. Seriously, just Cole died. I was sort of sad about, I mean, we'd gone through a lot with Cole, and it was Liam's brother. I was sad for Liam, and I was sad for Ruby. I wouldn't necessarily miss him, but I really felt for the people who would, like his brother. And he's really annoyed me throughout this book because he kept shoving Liam aside, and like, I love Liam to death and he can do so much. He has done so much. And I feel like Liam and Cole just needed to talk because Liam didn't know that Cole was a red, so he was degrading him. And Cole didn't know that Liam got this whole huge like group out of camp all by himself. It's just like they need to talk. Their bickering in this book drove me insane, mostly Cole, because Liam, honestly, throughout this book, I loved him. I felt so bad for him, and like when Ruby kept fighting with him and Cole kept putting him down, and it's just like, he can handle stuff on his own. You don't have to do this, Cole. Okay, did anybody else, I'm sure you did, predict the Chubbs and Vida relationship? I know most people say Vida, but I say Vida. Who honestly cares? Oh my gosh. I saw it coming from the minute they met and they were fighting, and I was just like, psh, they're gonna get together. And they are just adorable. I loved when Chubbs was on the stage at the end during the press conference and Vida was just like, nerd. And Liam and Ruby were just like smirking because they're so cute. When they found Zoo was such an emotional scene. When they were just driving and Clancy was in the car, which freaked me out because like, no. She saw the letters and she was like, what if it's Zoo? What if it's Zoo? And she kept driving, and then she turned around. They found the shoe that had the pink ribbon, and then they were like, no, it's nothing. And so they got back in the car and started driving away, and then she was like, it's the dress. It's the dress ribbon. Okay. That scene had me sobbing. I just wanted the four of them back together. Zoo, I need Zoo after like this whole emotional Jude situation. I need her little sassy, cute adorableness. I just cried and cried, and it was so beautiful. Another thing involving Zoo where I cried, when she spoke during the interview, I did not see coming. Oh, sobbing. It was so amazing, and I really didn't think that she'd talk. I thought that she was mute. I didn't know that she actually just chose not to talk. When she just spoke, I just started crying the second I can't talk about it. I'm like such an emotional wreck right now. I loved that the last like 30 pages of this book were so peaceful. It was like The Last Olympian. It's like we've had all this craziness. We need peace at the end. We need just like 30 pages of not worrying about anything and just happy, maybe unrealistic. Like I found that I don't care after all they've been through. Like if this is a predictable cutesy love scene between Ruby and Liam, I don't care. They need happiness. They deserve happiness through all they've been through, and it was so amazing. Like when she met up with her Grams was at the hospital, and then her parents were there too. It was so beautiful, and then she returned their memories to them. And oh my goodness, it was just like, I loved how awkward Liam was around her grandma and around her parents, and he's just such a sweet guy. He's like, it's a pleasure to meet you again, ma'am. And I'm like, Liam, you're so gentlemanly. I love you so much. I'm so glad that they made up in the end. I mean, I knew they would, but reading about it was so happy. It just made me so happy. But just like, their fighting drove me crazy, and then they'd have a moment of like cutesiness, and then they'd fight again, and it just, whew. And I mean, it was realistic because, I mean, Ruby is like, has a lot going on, and Liam is being put down by everybody, and it's really sad, so they would be fighting, but at the same time, it was really frustrating. Oh, how Vida didn't like Zoo, and I was like, why are you hating on Zoo? She's the cutest little girl and she's been through so much. Why are you being so rude to her? Oh, that scene when Vida broke down, it was just like, I really love Vida and Ruby's relationship. They're just like always there for each other, and they're like, she was like her Sam while Sam wasn't there. And we find out that it was because Vida felt that Ruby was replacing Jude just like that with Zoo, and I was like, not that. And it was such an emotional scene. This book, oh my goodness. Oh, when Ruby was back in Thurmond, it was so freaky, but at the same time, it was like, Ruby is so powerful now and can control her abilities and strong, and I'm not worried that she's not gonna make it out because she can control people. So there were some really great moments where she controlled people in this book at Thurmond, so that was pretty entertaining. Yeah, she's just so powerful. She's like back and she's like, you're not gonna rule over me this time. Nope, this time's different. I'm going to control your mind and make you do what I want. It was so cool seeing her all powerful coming back. She's like, I want to live. I want to get out of here. I've seen what's out there and I've met those people and I'm not going back to this. So that was really cool. I loved that Sam got her memories back. Oh, spark is your eyes really let us know Sam better, and it was really nice to see their relationship go back into place because she can return memories now, which is something she didn't know she could do. Also, why didn't we get any, like, resolvement? What is the word I'm looking for? I don't know. You know what I mean? Of Lucas and Sam. Why was there nothing? It was just kind of frustrating, but it was a little confusing at the end, and I guess it had to be because we were just inside of Ruby's mind with the whole war, because she wakes up and it's like, oh, Liam's here. The war has started, but we didn't see any of it because we're inside of her head and she's been knocked out.
Oh my gosh, when they were torturing her with the white noise and when they broke her leg. Okay, sorry, I'm not gonna go there.
This is honestly the last thing that I even have written down, but I felt like I had to talk about it. This is a moment that I haven't heard anyone else talk about in their reviews, but it really stuck out to me. It was when Vida and Liam were like sort of supporting Ruby and they were going towards all like the soldiers and then PSFs and everything. And there was a girl from Thurmond and she was like, Mom, Mom! And then the mom was calling to her. And they couldn't get to each other because the stupid soldiers wouldn't let the mom through. Then one of the soldiers takes off his helmet, puts his gun down, goes over to that girl who's calling for her mom, puts his helmet on her head, and carries her over to her mother. That moment made me cry. It was such a beautiful moment. I don't know, that just really stuck out to me. So overall, I really think that the Darkest Minds is still my favorite of the three. I just loved it to death. It was incredible, and so were these two. I gave the Darkest Minds 5 stars. I gave these two 4 stars, and I gave the novellas 4 stars. I mean, really the only reason that I gave these ones 4 stars is the swearing in these books really frustrates me. Also in Never Fade it was a little slow at the beginning, and there were some reason that I took off a star for each one. But it was just, overall, I love it so much. The Darkest Minds is still my favorite, and then I think that this one may actually be my second favorite, and then Never Fade. Most people like The Darkest Minds most, Never Fade second, and then this one least because it's very, like, dark and very serious and lots of emotional stuff happening. But I love this book, and I really love Never Fade, but at the same time it was sort of boring towards the beginning. I didn't like the new characters at first. This one, we just dive right in. We're at, like, we find Zoo, and then we go to the ranch, and then we have this war, and she goes back to Thurmond, and it's so epic, and then this beautiful ending. And I think that's a good note to end it on. That was very dramatic. Okay, I hope you've read this book if you're still here, but if you have read this book, please comment your favorite part below. I really don't have a favorite part. Maybe when Zoo spoke, or, oh, I really love the part when, like, when Vida was dyeing her hair and Zoo got a little strip of color in her hair and they were trying to make pink. It was so cute and like, okay, anyway, definitely let me know what you thought of this book, how many stars you gave it, what's your favorite part, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!